Good afternoon, everybody. I don't want to get up here and sound like a broken record, but it's hard to win in the National Football League, and whether it's 9-3 or or 2-0, we definitely take it. It was a great team win. You got to give a lot of credit to the Bills. Those guys are well coached, great football team. As you could see yesterday, it was a hard-fought battle. We came into this game with an emphasis on stopping the run. You look at what they did last week, 200 yards rushing. I thought our guys did a tremendous job up front, getting penetration, holding those guys to 69 yards rushing. When you look at one of the top running backs in the National Football League, in McCoy, he had 9 yards rushing. Most of that yardage came from the quarterback scrambling. I think it was 55 yards. So a lot of credit goes to the D-line, great penetration up front, particularly with our tackles. They got to play extremely well against schemes like this, these zone schemes. I thought our defensive ends did an outstanding job setting the edge in the run game. You look at what Julius Peppers did yesterday, some outstanding play on the perimeter. They did a great job rushing and hitting the quarterback and making them get rid of the ball quickly. With our linebackers, I thought we did a great job. We emphasize this all the time, playing downhill and playing with great hands. And those guys did a great job of that. And when you look at things that we talked about throughout the week, trying to take away 25 out in space, trying to take away 85 out in space, those guys made some great open field tackles. Great open field tackles. We're going to continue to get tested down the field vertical and on the back end. You look at a couple of times, Darryl was in great position. James late in the game was in good position on the sideline pass there. And I thought our safeties tackled well, Situational football we talk about all the time. The third element of our DNA is playing smart. Last play of the game, all right, fourth down, understanding the time on the clock. Most important, the formation, all that stuff is talking to us. We got to do a much better job with our left corner, Bradbury right here, staying vertical and really getting a double on that 7 route with the safety playing inside out. For the most part, energy was there, tremendous effort. Guys running to the football, things that we emphasize and talk about each and every day. And once again, it's early, and everything that we emphasize and we talk about is a week-to-week thing. And it's all about trying to take that next step. And everybody always talk about, well, what have you done for me lately? You all know this league is what have you done for me now. And now it's the New Orleans Saints, and we've already moved on, and we're looking forward right now to the challenge that we have this week. First ballot Hall of Fame quarterback in Drew Brees, and we're going to have our hands full this week.
Steve,
Obviously, a big part of the game plan was to stop LaShawn and his cutbacks and all that stuff. But could you take us through what each level has to do consistently to hold a guy like that for 9 yards?
Well, I think once again, when you look at our defense, it's gap integrity. Everybody has a gap on each play based off the call. And this zone scheme, unlike what we got last week against the 49ers, they do a great job of really the backside cuts, first and second level. They try to cut you and roll. Point of emphasis all week with Coach Washington as well as Coach Mills, we worked on that. If you go back and watch the tape, our tackles did a great job staying alive and not being on the ground. That's what 25 is looking for. They're going to set the edge front side, and he's looking for that cutback, but we stayed alive backside. So, like I said before, our tackles did a great job, all right, in staying alive and getting into that crease.
This week, obviously, and next week as well, I would imagine the secondary would be a huge point of emphasis going against passers like Brees and Brady. Two-part question here, can you break down that last play of the game a little bit more, just what you saw in that when you went back to watch film with James and what kind of happened there, and then what kind of a test this will be for both Darryl and James this next couple weeks?
Couple of things. I'll definitely do that. And we're going to stay in this week, and we'll get to Brady once that comes. Like I said, it's a week-to-week deal. It's going to be tough this week. That last play, again, it was an empty formation. We're playing quarters. And James, in my opinion, got a little nosy. He allowed the number one receiver to occupy him. He drove on the comeback, which we don't do that in that situation. Thomas should have pushed through, which he was. James should have stayed deep with Kurt Coleman right here, vicing that 7 route from inside out. James should have been outside in and really should have been an interception based off where they threw the ball. So it's something to learn from and something that we will definitely correct moving forward. Letting him understand, once again, the situation and trying to detail it for him, as you just talked about. So, therefore, once we get in that situation again, it won't happen. The challenge this week, yeah, it's going to be a big challenge for those guys. But most importantly, I think it's going to be a challenge for us as a team. Because most importantly, we talk about all the time, I tell those guys we have to complement one another. Meaning right now, the rush complements the coverage complements right there the rush. So we got to have tight coverage right here, and we got to get off the ball, and we got to put pressure on the quarterback. And it goes hand in hand. So the biggest thing, once again, is going to be team ball, putting a lot of pressure on Brees, and most importantly right here, playing tight coverage on the back end.
Coach, you've gone against Brees for a lot of years, so specifically, what makes Brees so good?
Well, number one, he's extremely smart. He's a seasoned vet. Like I said, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He understands. He's seen every look you can give him. He's seen it. And he does a great job, in my opinion, putting those guys in the final position where they need to be from a protection standpoint, and most importantly, giving the receivers the things they need to do for us, hot sights and those kind of things. So it's going to be a tough task. We got to do a great job with our disguise. We got to do a great job mixing up our coverages. We got to do a great job of just keeping them off balance a little bit. It's going to be hard to say that we can stop them, but we got to make sure that we just keep them guessing.
The way you guys are playing to run so well, though, that is making teams one-dimensional. How big an advantage is that for you guys having that going in this game?
Well, I think it's always an advantage. This is a pass-happy football league, as we know. And the one thing you can't do, you can't make them two-dimensional. So our first objective each and every week is to stop the run. Point of emphasis each and every day in practice, our walkthrough, our teaching, everything we do is about run fits, getting our corners involved. So we feel like right now we can do that, and then now we know exactly what's coming. Pressure, coverage, we can mix things up right here once again to try to keep them guessing.
How does Brees' release compare to others that you've seen in the course of your career?
Well, he's a very effective quarterback. I was in San Diego with Phillip Rivers, and there was a lot of talk about his release as well. But I see both of those guys being effective at what they do. And they do a great job of it, and everybody talk about his height, looking over the line of scrimmage and those kind of things. So he gets the ball out there quite a bit, and he's pretty productive in the things that he's doing, So I know we got to do a great job collapsing the pocket. We got to get our hands up front, things that we emphasize and talk about. But again, he does a great job.
Hey Steve, when I was rewatching the broadcast this morning, the commentator said in their planning meeting with the team with Buffalo, Tyrod Taylor mentioned Darryl Worley and said he likes to have a little bit more of a cushion on his guy, and that he was going to try and kind of capitalize on that. And in the fourth quarter, that last drive, he went at Darryl a couple of times, and they talked about that cushion. Would you like to see him play a little tighter? Or what would you?
Well, I think everything is really based off the call, and at times, as a coordinator, I can sort of control and dictate that a little bit, for us getting them up there. And that's some of the things, if you really detail and look at it at the end, once they hit them a couple of times right there, we started pressing, So I agree totally, guys scout us. They see our tendencies. Most importantly, they break down certain guys as we do. So they're going to see certain things, and they're going to try to attack us in that fashion. But we got to tighten them up based off his technique and, most importantly, the call.
How important is it to have that full stable on the defensive line now that everybody's healthy, that Vernon's back, that Kyle's back, to be able to rotate in guys and keep everybody fresh?
It's extremely important, particularly, the demand that we put on our guys up front, constantly coming off the ball, and it's about rushing. So to have that rotation is great. I thought Vernon came back. He gave us a boost. Kyle Love played outstanding yesterday, and some of the things that he did. And, of course, KK and Star are still phenomenal up front. So to have that rotation and be able to rotate those guys in and out, Eric does a good job to try to keep those guys fresh. So it's very important to our scheme.
Steve, what a luxury is it to have as a 9-time Pro Bowler, Julius coming off the bench? I always start rotation, but to have that depth defensive end.
It's great, and just to have Julius as a whole is extremely important to this organization, this team, and this defense. You look at what happened last week, and this is a great thing about, again, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. This is a great thing about a player of his caliber. You know, he didn't have a great game last week. It was good from a standpoint of what a lot of you guys may have seen, but a lot of things with his technique, because he's still doing some of the things he did a little bit last 3 years at Green Bay. Eric did a hell of a job in tightening those things up this week, and you could see the difference in his performance and his play. And a guy like that to still take coaching and teaching, a guy of that caliber, man, just shows you exactly about his character and the kind of people that we have in that room. It's outstanding.
Are you able to expand on that a little bit? Because he's coming from a 3-4. So what kind of techniques?
Well, really, when you look at a 3-4 scheme and you're a stand-up linebacker, a lot of things that you're doing is about width, and it's about trying to get up the field. Well, we don't do that here. You know, we're tight, defensive end playing a 6 technique or a 5. So really he had to really get his alignment correct and his launch point. And those are the things that we emphasize this week, and you can really see the difference in his play, particularly on those runs that he was making a play on right there, the 5 technique. Did an outstanding job.
This seems kind of maybe like it might be a silly question, but do you get, when you watch him chase down a quarterback, do you watch a guy like Mario chase down a quarterback knowing how far he's come in his journey, and Charles Johnson as well, do you get this kind of a sense of satisfaction just seeing them in pursuit like that?
Yes, I do, but the point of emphasis that we talk about, I really believe this right here. The physicality of your defense is not based off your front 7, all right? It's how well your corners tackle. That's what everybody is looking at, because this league is all about, I'm a crack support, and my running back 25, Shady McCoy, is better than your corners. One-on-one, I'm going to make a miss. And when teams talk about, man, they run to the football, all right, all that is based off our front 4 turning and running. When you watch teams play, they don't run to the ball as we do. And yes, it's very impressive, it's exciting, but it's something that we demand.
You mentioned that you guys see a lot more than maybe we do from our vantage point, and right now you're ranked number 1 total defense. It's when everybody's looking at. But through 2 weeks, that aside, do you feel like things you mentioned, running to the ball, the identity of what you want to create, are you seeing what you want to see and what your staff wants to see from this defense, aside from what we're looking at with being number 1 in total defense and what the stats say?
Yes, I think the biggest thing, and I said this last week, man, you guys know this is a week-to-week league, and we can't get too excited about where we are. I told the guys last week, and I'm going to tell them again today, this defense is still under construction. I like the guys who are working on it, players and coaches, but when you look at, as we watched it this morning as a staff, there's a lot of plays that we left out on the field. There's a lot of things that we need to correct from a technique standpoint. Vision with James, as you guys talked about earlier, timing up our pressures. Felt like we could have had a couple of more sacks out there. Our angles were off. So we got a long way to go, but the thing about it is we're each day that we go out, we're looking to take that step. And I try to keep those guys in the moment, and that's what it's all about. It's about trying to finish this particular rep, finish this particular walkthrough, finish this meeting, and we'll take them as they come.
Good. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.